Hey you guys, it's Britt. Tonight we're here to take a look at an older video from Nikki and Dan Phillippi. This is about why they're not adopting from Thailand anymore. I've not reacted to this. I've seen it a while ago, but I figured that it would make for a good reaction because since they announced their second pregnancy, I really just want people to remember why people are so upset with these two, and this has nothing to do with the Bowser situation. That's a whole nother issue, but I figured we could look at it. So if you're interested, please keep watching. I realize this is an old video, but at the same time, I also think that a situation like this, they have not changed their stance. These are like core values that are flawed. And when you're looking at two people with really core values, I don't think that that changes over the course of a few years. If anything, I think that it gets worse. That's just my own opinion, obviously. But this video has almost 300,000 views, and it says, "Change of plans. We're not adopting from Thailand anymore. We wanted to give you guys another update today since this is such huge news. I hope you guys understand, and I appreciate you the support. Of course, comments are off, and are we surprised? No, but before this video is an hour long, let's get into it."
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it because that's what the title already says. We are not adopting from Thailand. Whoa.
Sorry.
Yeah. So okay.
First road bump in the adoption process.
Or first big road bump.
Yeah.
It's been
I'm like, sorry.
And I guess it is the first road bump because everything else we've dealt with hasn't really necessarily been a road bump. It's just been like, it's difficult. There's a lot to this process. So.
And this wasn't even a road bump. This was their decision that they wanted a child, that they could throw away the child's privacy. Thailand said no, and they said, okay, well then we're not gonna literally change a child's life because we want to exploit him for YouTube clicks and views.
The other day on Instagram, I posted that I was really bummed about something going on with the adoption. And even though I knew it was all gonna pan out, and I feel like it is all gonna pan out, I kind of had a little bit of a freak out, and I was going to, it's interesting because we had actually already filmed an adoption update like a week ago, and we filmed it and we were like, we don't really like it, we're gonna redo it. So we already had a bunch of stuff to update you guys on before this like drama already went down. So
it's not even drama, it's something that they decided. Usually when I think of a roadblock or an obstacle, it's usually something where you're fully invested, you're ready to go, and then something that's completely out of your control is presented, and usually you do something to work around it or figure out what it is that you want to do. I don't know, like they're making it seem like they did everything in their power to make it work and Thailand was the problem, when that's not the case at all.
Still adopting. We're just not adopting from Thailand anymore. So
you want to explain why?
And they never adopted.
Explain why. I just spit all over myself. So here's the situation. Recently, about 2 weeks ago, so the organization that we're adopting through is called Whole International, and they've started following Dan and I on Instagram. And they actually messaged us on Instagram and were like, hey, we're coming to Nashville. We'd like to meet up with you to just talk, like the Instagram team. I think I just hit you in the face, sorry. So I'm like, cool, this is all really exciting. I tend to be like a big dreamer anyways. And it's like, I have this dream for like adoption advocacy. And I'm like, we're hooking up with our agency. Like, it's so exciting. Well, then the next day I get an email from someone else within Whole, and they're like, hey, Nikki, we saw that you connected with the social media team, which is great. That's amazing. We just wanted to make sure you're aware of our social media policy. And I'm like, what social media policy? And I had no idea. I mean, to be honest.
They're working with kids who are looking for safe forever homes. Of course there's a social media policy. Why would there not be a social media policy? Because if there wasn't, then you would have parents just out here exploiting these kids and doing all kinds of crazy things all over social media. Social media is a monster of its own. So of course there's a social media policy.
The way that I was going into this thing was kind of like my own version of common sense, which I say my own version because I know some people have expressed in the comments like, are you nervous that all of this sharing is going to mess with your adoption? So I have a different filter of like common sense, but
all of the sharing
she really doesn't have much of any, in my opinion.
has the change that we're making now. We would have had to make this change much later in the process if they hadn't started following us from us sharing.
Oh, yeah, it's like this is a good thing, what we're telling you ultimately.
So we would have been in a lot deeper than
this change, yeah, the country change. So, okay, so they say, she sends me over a sheet, right? And I open up this sheet of all the policies and I'm reading it and I was like kind of confused. And so I sent her back an email.
Nikki is the type of person who does not like to be inconvenienced at all. Based on everything that I've seen with her and Dan as a couple, she is not someone who likes to have anything throw her off her path. She wants it her way or no way. And Nikki, I hate to break it to you, but that's just not how the world works. There are going to be things that are inconvenient and annoying and maybe even a little bit time consuming. And, you know, unfortunately, part of being an adult is dealing with those things as an adult. But like we saw with Bowser, she wants to eliminate anything that is no longer convenient to her life or her lifestyle.
Email, I'm like, is this basically just saying like not to share any information about our future child until they're officially ours? Because I didn't say this, but I'm like, that's what I deemed like common sense. Like when we get matched with a kid and we have the picture and the information, I wasn't planning on sharing that just because who knows, that kid may end up not being our kid and then they could be with someone else and we didn't want to like violate someone's privacy that isn't like our kid. That sounds weird, but you know what I'm saying. So I asked her that and she was like, well,
of course, the adoption agency is still going to be involved. Just because you adopt a child, that doesn't mean that you can do with that child whatever it is that you want, because that agency is still going to want to make sure that the child is going to a safe home. Are they, being taken care of in a way that we want them to be taken care of? That's part of the adoption journey. You don't just get to like take a kid and then do whatever it is that you want with the child. She is so stupid.
Well, yes, but also Thailand has its own law that's unique to it that after you pick up your child and they're your child, you are not allowed to talk about them or share any images, photos, videos, anything about them online for a year.
Yeah, and that.
So,
I mean, Nikki's got a YouTube channel. We share a whole lot.
Wait, hold on. When that hit, we literally were like,
I think every country should have this rule. And in fact, I will go out on a limb and I will say I think that it should be for longer than a year. Because the thing is, and of course I haven't adopted, so I'm just speaking off of what I do know. When you're thinking about adopting a child, the child could have come from a really traumatic situation. They could be dealing with mental health issues or some kind of physical health issues. And when they're trying to get adjusted to your home and your rules and your lifestyle and what is hopefully going to be the home, for the rest of their life, that takes a lot of compassion and care and privacy and understanding. So for these two idiots to jump up here and automatically say, well, we're on YouTube, so if we can't share the kid on YouTube, then we don't want to do it. It's such a selfish way to go about making a decision because it is so self-serving. It's, oh, well, I want to do this, and if I can't do it, then I'm not going to help this child who could potentially, all of these kids need loving homes. You could have potentially changed the child's life. And this is something that I feel like a lot of family vloggers don't understand this. Just because you're online and then you have a child, whether that's a natural childbirth or adoption or fostering even, that doesn't mean that the child needs to be shown to your audience too. There are many YouTubers, Casey Neistat. He is one of the biggest YouTubers on this platform. Once he had kids, he decided that he was going to protect their privacy and not blast his kids all over his channel. And I know that they've been in some videos, but you guys know what I mean. I'm talking about like these family vloggers who just insert their kids into every little thing that they're filming. And to be so put off by an organization wanting to protect the child who might have trauma or other issues going on, and to act so inconvenienced by that, really shows me who Nikki and Dan are.
Yeah.
What? Like, we literally were like, wait, what? So we're like going around the house. We're like trying to.
Why is this funny? What's funny about this? You guys made a selfish decision to not change a child's life? Real funny.
Figure out how this could work, like hashtag baby blur face, like what are we gonna do? Dan's like, maybe we could deal with that for a year, and we're talking about it, and we're like, all right, let's pray about it, let's sleep on it, and then let's see how we feel in the morning.
It's not just a rule that Thailand it's not just a rule that Thailand has, like, oh, you can't share anything or talk about your kid for a year. It's that the adoption is not finalized until a year later.
Yeah.
So, the kid's gonna be living in our house for a year, and it's that whole time not our kid. So not okay with that either.
Yeah. So we slept on it.
So why not just protect the child? Who cares? This is the most selfish and narcissistic way to go about life. Like, you're not getting your way, so you're not going to help a child. And these people call themselves Christians.
I told a couple of people in my life, like a couple close friends, my assistant Melissa, because she's like super logical, and she responded being like, dude, like what if there's an accident or something? And Holt actually said to us, like, you need to take this policy really seriously because you could mess up Holt's relationship with Thailand, and you could mess up future adoptions for families that are waiting in line in process with Thailand. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I almost Snapchatted while I was signing an NDA once. Like, I'm like, I'm gonna totally mess up, and then I'll ruin it for other families.
So there's so many.
It is really not that hard to not have your kid on video. I'm sorry, I'm not speaking from experience, but just using a little bit of logic, as Nikki likes to call it, it would not take that much effort to make sure that your child is not in vlog footage. It is not that difficult. Nobody can convince me that it's some kind of like impossible task where it's definitely going to get messed up. There is no way that it could be that impossible. They just don't care because they want it their way.
Many reasons why.
So many. Well, and I called my family the next day, and both my parents separately, when I called them, were like, this is not what you are about. Like, you've been sharing your life for 7.5 years. It should be your decision what you want to share and not want to share. And they were like, this just doesn't.
And we want to share everything.
Well, that's not even necessarily true. We just want the right to be like, I mean, we don't know. Like, when our kid...
We just want to be able to use the child for clicks and views because we know that adoption stories do really well in the YouTube algorithm, and we want to be able to capitalize on this. If we're going to help an innocent child, then we need to be able to make sure that we're getting a paycheck out of it too.
Comes home, they might be dealing with a lot of trauma, and we might be like, just kidding, we're not going to be showing our kid very much for a while because we're dealing with all this stuff. Or we might be like, wow, this was such a crazy smooth transition, so much cute stuff is happening, we want to share left, right, and center. We just want...
It's not yours to share. Even if it's your child, that is not your decision to put this child all over the internet.
The ability to do what we want to do without possibly causing harm or repercussions to other people and an entire organization for that matter. So, yeah. So we pulled out of the Thailand program, and wait, I want to finish that. Even, like, the country director with Holt actually spoke to the Thai government and was like, can you make an exception for them because, like, their whole lives are online in a really, like, basically it's their business in, like, a public way. And they were like, nope, no exceptions. And we were like, then this is not where God has us.
And we can't, like, get away with anything.
Yeah, no, and if anyone was gonna get in trouble, it was definitely gonna be me. Like, I would be the one that wouldn't be able to get away with anything. So, and like I said, it mostly just makes me nervous, like, if I messed something up for other people. So, so we were on the phone with them, like 2 days ago. Feel free.
Yesterday?
Oh yeah, you're right, that was yesterday. We were on the phone with them, and that's when they told us that they had spoken to the Thai government and there's no exceptions being made. And so we're like, well, what do you recommend?
Imagine thinking that you are so important that a whole ass country is going to make an exception for you to be able to get away with something that they've already said is not allowed. Thinking, oh, maybe they'll make an exception because we're famous YouTubers. The amount of self-importance and just ego is astounding. How could you ever think that you are the exception to the rule? We're going to let you guys exploit this child, but nobody else.
And they start talking about other countries, and then they mentioned Korea. So Dan's face lit up when they mentioned Korea. He's all, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, there were other countries, but Korea excited me the most.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
It just hit you for some reason. Yeah, so he like lit up, and I don't really have a preference. I'm kind of just like, whatever. So we were like, sure, let's look at Korea. So when it comes to...
Well, Nikki does have a preference as long as she can exploit the child for clicks and views and a really sweet homecoming story, then she's okay with it. That's her preference. She doesn't care where the child comes from as long as she can utilize it to build her net worth.
Country situations right now, basically where we're at is we are applying for the Korea program. There's a chance we may not be accepted to Korea because they have certain standards. Oh, you were shaking your head at me. Oh, because you think we will get accepted.
Yeah.
I think we will get accepted too. I just have to lay this out there. There are certain standards that they have. None of this is secret. I've said this all before, so I don't feel weird reiterating this. You know, I see a counselor. I'm on a low-grade SSRI for pain management. So those things kind of have certain stigmas in Korea. So I have to get letters from doctors saying that my mental health is fine, that I'm using the SSRI for pain. And assuming they're like okay with that, then we should be able to enter into the Korea program. But the Korea program, I feel like that's going to have to be a whole different video if we're accepted, because it's different than Thailand, and it's going to mean an extra trip to Korea. We're going to have to take 2 trips, and it's just a different ballgame.
The process is a little bit different. We get matched with a child way sooner. And then they give us pictures. What do they say, monthly or bi-monthly?
I thought it was like every Monday, or we get updates or something like that.
Updates every Monday, medical updates every month, and then pictures bi-monthly or something like that. So
yeah, like if we get accepted, we could be matched with a kid before Christmas.
Yeah, so there's like a lot more connection going on in the meantime. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then we go down to Korea the first time, and what is it, for 5 days?
Yeah.
We get to mingle with the kid.
A
few different times, and then we go back home, and 5 to 6 weeks later, we go pick them up and take them home, and then they are ours.
Then they're ours. They're actually ours before we leave the country.
So.
Yeah, I think it's just like China. They get sworn in like as a U.S. citizen. And then we're like, come on, little Uzuhan, let's go.
But same rule, there's no gender preference.
Yeah.
And that means most likely we'll end up with a boy first.
Yeah, but it really is a crapshoot because in China, back when my parents adopted, pretty much everyone ended up with a girl, and my parents ended up with a healthy baby boy. So yeah, but we'll have to do a whole other video if we get accepted into that program, because the information he gave, it's so drastically different, and that's still the tip of the iceberg. Like, there's so much difference to that program.
And we just a few days ago we took our psych evaluation, so
yes.
It was like a 600 question exam and interview.
Hold on, so that's a good place. Let's segue into all of that, into all of the things that we've been doing for home study, because that's a good segue. He was going to say that if we're accepted into the Korea program, we have to do another psych evaluation because they have a specific test.
We don't have to redo it. We just
So anyway, they talk about their psych exam and some other stuff the rest of that video, but you guys heard the reason why they're not adopting from Thailand. That's what I was interested in. So as you guys heard, their presence online really caused them issues when it came to going for this adoption they wanted to do. And I just always find that really interesting when you're so set on using a child for clicks and views, and you refuse to make the changes so that you can actually give this child a better life, and you're just so not willing to do that, especially with the Thailand thing that really put a bad taste in my mouth. I just couldn't imagine saying, no, we are so firm in our decision that we want to be able to share pictures and videos of this child. If we can't do it our way, then we're not going to go through with it. And that just is one of the most selfish things that I can think of. I would feel like a terrible person, and obviously adoption is not even in their forecast now, because they have had now 2 pregnancies. They just announced the 2nd pregnancy on her channel. You know, and obviously with their own kids, they can exploit their own kids as many times as their little hearts desire. But I wanted to share the Thailand thing. It just, seeing that again today really reminded me of how self-serving Nikki and Dan are. They will absolutely refuse to allow anything to inconvenience them. And I say them, but I really mean Nikki, because let's be honest, she wears the pants in that relationship 100% of the time. And I think Dan's just along for the ride, and he speaks up whenever he's allowed to. But either way, I did want to share that. So for now, if you like the video, please leave a like and a comment. And if you'd like to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.